I wanted to follow up to my previous take on the Mario Brothers film, and I think it's important because we need to discuss what it is that is dividing critics from fans, and also something else too. I'm going to be readdressing something that came up in the last video, and one final thing. This particular video will not provide any spoilers or anything like that. I'm not really giving a review, but I am going to give you my thoughts on the matter at hand, which, by the way, is the film itself. But we need to address why it is that critics and fans are not agreeing with certain things about certain films, and, of course, at the same time, also the contempt that critics do, in fact, have for those who watch the films. What is up, guys? John Claymore here, and as I have said on several occasions, I am going to be talking a little bit more about pop culture because pop culture is, in fact, a front that we do need to be fighting on. There are several channels out there that do discuss this, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? If there's a topic at hand, let's go ahead and discuss it. Now, I did a video the other day about John Leguizamo complaining that the new Mario film didn't have any Latin representation. Well, upon further review and reacting to that, let me just go ahead and say this. Number one, the clip that that is provided is from TMZ. I'll be leaving a link to that in the description box. I will not be playing it because TMZ has this very, very wild copyright system where even if you play like 2 seconds of a video, they'll put a copyright claim in. Very, very weird how these people are. But still at the same time, though, we do need to address this. Believe it or not, the Mario Brothers film does have some Latin American representation. The actress who portrays Princess Peach has got some Argentinian blood in her. Also something else, too, and this part completely blew my mind, and it was something that I already knew. The character of Mario, Italian-American, is in fact Latin because Italian, Spanish, and French are all Latin languages, the languages of love. I just figured I'd go ahead and get that out there. Once again, just another D-list actor trying to pretend that he is still relevant and that his opinions matter. But once again, here we are. Now, the thing that we need to be discussing in here is why is it that critics and fans are not exactly, how do I say, they're not exactly in line.
Oh, wow! I'm kind of shocked at how bad this movie is. Universal knows, though. Universal knows, which is why the embargo is lifting mere hours before the movie premieres. I don't think this is going to make $1 billion. I think it might still have a big opening weekend. I don't even know if it's going to make it to Friday. I think word of mouth on this is going to be toxic, or whatever toxic goo there is in Nintendo world that destroys stuff that it touches. So let me walk you through this, right? Because I know a lot of you aren't going to believe me, but I think you're going to be seeing a lot of bad reviews drop right now. And yeah, it's unfortunately true. Now, as I've mentioned before when discussing this movie, I don't play Nintendo games, right? Like I know who the characters are, well, like the big ones, but I'm certainly not a Nintendo fan.
You don't even play Nintendo. Now, granted, you don't have to play Nintendo to like a film or dislike a film or dislike its characters, but still at the same time, though, I think having an actual knowledge of the characters itself would actually help out when determining your, let's just say, criticisms or non-criticisms. This is one of the reasons why I think that the vast majority of these leftist elite types and these leftist YouTubers, you guys probably should not take serious. I mean, these people didn't even pay any bills growing up. They were mostly suburban kids. And now they have a lot of money, so now, therefore, they can hire people to do things for them. Also, one more thing about the negative review aspect. I have yet to see a single, let's just say, Nintendo-based channel, and I've looked at a lot of them, and including even the pop culture warriors out there. I have yet to see a single one of them say anything bad about this film, probably because they understood that this film was a movie designed for kids and Mario Brother fans. It's very, very weird, especially when it comes to, say, a topic like Star Wars, why it was they chose to go for the casual fan that did not understand the product. What needs to happen is that you need to make a film, or you need to make it for the actual true fan, so that way it can actually be explained a little bit later on. That's how you garner actual, honest-to-God appreciation for something. One more thing also needs to be said about those, about the money being made. Yeah, it's made a lot of money in the first few days, Easter weekend. I mean, It's almost like the Top Gun effect. Why people love Top Gun Maverick so much, including myself, is the reason is that it wasn't woke, it wasn't political. We're getting tired of people stuffing politics down our throat. We're getting sick of this. She obviously was upset about the fact that Princess Peach was not exactly what we call a girl boss in the film, which, by the way, she's not a girl boss in the video game series. She's not really a damsel in distress. She's actually a chick that was a damsel in distress who eventually got tougher as the series went along. But that requires a lot of character development, which, by the way, is something that Hollywood does not want to do. It's definitely a sign of extremely lazy writing when you don't actually develop a character. And let me also say one last thing, especially when it comes to films that aren't political. There are only 2 movies that I have seen since 2017 that actually made me leave the theater with a smile. Now, Mario was not one of them. But Top Gun Maverick, I walked out of that film smiling, happy. Oh my God, that was so great. And the other one was back in 2017, even though I get crap for saying this, was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Coincidentally, Chris Pratt was in that one. The reason why is because, well, it just was a good, fun experience. That's what people are looking for when they go to go see a movie. They're not looking to be preached to, and obviously Grace Randolph didn't like that. That, my friend, was a critic who obviously felt that the Mario Brothers film was just good old-fashioned fan service. Well, let me go ahead and kind of break this down for you. Obviously, this person does not know this. By the way, a video will also be left in the description box that also expands on this a little bit further as well, a little bit too. So make sure you guys go check that video out as well. So here's the deal. Mario Brothers was a fixture in a lot of homes, especially for kids that were born in the 80s and the 90s. Let me go ahead and kind of expand on this a little bit further. A lot of kids, especially those born in the 80s, had families that could only buy, say, one video game system. It's not like it is today where people have like a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One in their house. It's not like back in the day where we had a PS2 and an Xbox. It's not exactly how things are. As a matter of fact, the price of video games themselves have actually not changed. I'll be leaving a video in the description box for that one as well. The thing you have to understand is that minimum wage back in those days, wages themselves were a lot lower. It's only gotten higher over the years. So people who are complaining about $15 an hour minimum wage are now seeing that their $15 an hour doesn't exactly amount to anything in this rampant inflation. I think you guys should understand that people had a lot harder back then. So what would happen is that families would buy one video game system for their household. And what would happen as a result of this is that a kid would get hooked up on the game that came with the game system itself. Well, in the case of the regular Nintendo, it was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. In the case of Super Nintendo, it was Super Mario World. So a lot of people kind of got hooked on that. Now, obviously, Mario has evolved, and now it's on the Wii U. What else is it? The Switch. All these systems Mario has been on. And even the character of Princess Peach has somewhat changed to a certain degree. She's not just some damsel in distress, which, by the way, was the initial friction that was going on with this film. Now, let me go ahead and start this portion out by saying this. It was Chris Pratt, the actor who was doing the voice of Mario, who is not woke at all. I'm just like me. I'm not a wokester either. I prefer not to have political messaging in my film, who made this comment the other day. Essentially summing this up, basically what he was trying to say is that we wouldn't want wokeness in a film because we don't want to ruin somebody's childhood. Like I said, it's not just kids who are going to go see this movie. It's people my age. It's people like in their 30s and their 20s who kind of sort of grew up on Mario. That also includes some in their 40s because, believe it or not, a lot of those Gen Xers did, in fact, play the Mario Brothers games growing up. So they're probably going to have a certain, let's just say a certain affinity for this series, a certain affinity for this character. So obviously they're not going to want it ruined by woke messaging, which, by the way, is something that the critics don't like nowadays. They're like, you know what? If it isn't woke, we're not going to promote it. And don't worry, we'll get to audience scores here in a second, how everything kind of differs. But I want to say this really quick. The initial gripe that came about this film was that Nintendo had to step in to ensure that the character of Mario did not turn woke. The whole point was to try to make Princess Peach kind of like a girl boss, almost like a Rey Skywalker, which is very, very funny because, Rey Palpatine. But we'll be discussing that in the second video of the day. By the way, these videos will be coming out on Wednesday because Star Wars, once again, is at it again. They're giving us some crap that people, quite frankly, are just not interested in watching anymore. We'll get to that here soon. But the thing that you have to understand is that Nintendo was not going to allow Mario to become some bumbling, stumbling idiot. Luigi, if anything, is the more bumbling, stumbling type. But if anything, he's really more of a fearful type if you actually think about it. And not to mention the fact, you can still play the games as Luigi to beat the game itself. As a matter of fact, the greatest Super Mario Brothers game of all time, in my personal opinion, was Super Mario Brothers 3. There was a two-player co-op where you could play as Mario for one mission, then play as Luigi as the second. You could even beat the game as Luigi. Just figured I'd go ahead and throw that out there. The whole point was that Nintendo did not want their character to go completely woke and get absolutely destroyed in the process. Well, I don't know if I mentioned this before, and let's just go ahead and say this. I will be giving you guys my thoughts on the film itself at the very end of the video, but don't worry, there's not going to be any spoilers or anything. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I did go watch it last night. Now, here's the deal with critics. I am showing you guys right now 3 separate films. We commonly refer to these films as the Vietnam Trilogy. I know I'm going in a completely different direction, but I'm giving you guys some examples here. You're going to notice that these 3 films, and I'm even going to name them. The first one was Apocalypse Now. The second one was Platoon. The third one was Full Metal Jacket. Now, you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with Mario? Mario's a kid's film. Well, it has to do with the fact that before these numbers got updated, the critics had the exact same, let's just say, reactions to some of these films. Apocalypse Now and Platoon had a much, much higher Metacritic score because these were 2 films that were looked at to be Oscar nominees, where Full Metal Jacket was not. Now, let me go ahead and break this down, especially as a veteran. I personally found Apocalypse Now to be boring. They've remade that film, or they haven't remade it, but they've added stuff to it, like the Apocalypse Now redo, all that stuff. By the way, Oliver Stone worked on that film with Francis Ford Coppola back in the day as well. Not to mention John Milne has also worked on that film too. Apocalypse Now, while it may be viewed as a masterpiece, is an extremely hard movie to sit through. Platoon, on the other hand, is also a hard movie to sit through. Not because it sucks or anything. It's because the movie is so damn sad. All right, it's so damn depressing. Whereas Full Metal Jacket, and the subject matter is supposed to feel like it's somewhat depressing, is extremely comical, very funny. The rewatchability is a lot higher. Critics don't like something that has a type of rewatchability factor. I'm pretty sure that the Mario Brothers film someday will achieve that status. Whereas Coppola's Apocalypse Now and Oliver Stone's Platoon, they were designed to be almost Academy Award type films. That's what the Academy originally goes for. This was, of course, before they decided to expand their base to 10. If you hear a trash compactor in the background, I apologize for that. I got to kind of record these at certain points in time of the day, and obviously things do happen. But the thing is this right here. Critics do not like what is rewatchable. They never have, and they don't like things nowadays that are not woke and not exactly down with the message. This is how they operate. As I may have just said before, rewatchability is extremely important to fans out there. I mean, I can tell you right now, I would watch Full Metal Jacket a hell of a lot more than I would watch Platoon or Apocalypse Now. When I do eventually decide to create a film review or a movie character analysis channel or character analysis channel, and different because video games will be brought up as well, the only reason why I would watch Apocalypse Now or Platoon is for research purposes, whereas Full Metal Jacket I would actually watch for good old-fashioned fun, because even though as violent as that film is and as dark as it is, it's absolutely hilarious. That was the point behind it, was to garner rewatchability. It's the same exact thing with the Rambo series. As a matter of fact, the last Rambo film was completely panned by critics, but people genuinely, for the most part, liked it, even though they did not think it was as good as the previous 4 installments. I'm pretty sure you guys are kind of understanding what I'm saying. Critics don't like films that are rewatchable. They want to like films that garner awards. That's kind of sort of how they are, and not to mention the wokeness factor as well. Now, with that right there being said, let me go ahead and kind of give you guys my final thoughts on the actual film itself. It's a kids' movie. That's what it is. It is a kids' movie. It is a kids' movie that parents can actually go and watch as well, especially people my age. It's a film that you carry your nieces and your nephews with. Yes, I was the old guy who decided to go in the movie theater at 12 o'clock at night when nobody was there, which, by the way, is really the best time to watch a film, in my opinion, because you ain't got to deal with other people. Also, something else, too. I'm one of those guys who prefers to sit high up and right there towards the back of the theater. It gives me a much, much fuller picture of the screen. I don't like sitting under the screen. So there is that there. Maybe you guys can relate to it. But the thing is this right here. This movie, for the most part, is in fact just a kid's film. It's a fan service film for that very reason. Was it good? Yes, it was entertaining. So I didn't see a reason for critics to complain about it. But then again, as I said before, critics don't like things that are rewatchable, which is what I think the Super Mario Brothers film is. A rewatchable movie. Guys, John Claymore, if you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound up in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.